Good morning, my neighbours!
Well, good morning, you sexy mother hubbards. It's Bank Holiday Monday, but there's no rest for the wicked, so it's time for an alternative paper review. First up to The Guardian this morning. Plan to scrap non-dom tax status is full of loopholes for the super rich. Of course it is. Of course it is. Avid readers and fervent viewers will recall that this was originally a Labour policy until Jeremy Hunt stood up behind the dispatch box and pilfered it. Just scrambled around inside that safety deposit box where Labour keep all their best policies, and they just raided it like a chancellor raiding your pay packet. I mean, this is peak Tory, really, isn't it? That's what we're seeing. What they're doing is they're stealing a policy off Labour, so Labour can no longer say, oh, this is our new policy that we're going to wheel out. And then they're pre-spending that money, so Labour don't have that money when they get into power. And then when they do get into power, they won't be able to achieve or deliver on the things that they've said that they're going to do, so it will make Labour look bad. And people get offended when I call this lot sociopaths. Like, you realise what you're doing, don't you? You're not stupid. You're messing around with money that could change lives, that could improve lives, save lives. And you're just messing around with it to score points, to cause the other team a few problems in a few months. This'll get them. Honestly, it's getting to the point now where I'm so angry and so radicalised. Like, it is no longer good enough to just vote them out. These days, I want them all, singularly, individually, stuffed into wheelie bins, rolled into the back of a lorry, and driven into the English Channel. What's next? Get well soon, King jokes. I'm doing my best. Over to the Times now. Long waits in A&E kill 250 people every week. 250 people a week are dying as a direct result of an underfunded, hugely neglected, and probably collapsing now, if we're honest, National Health Service. 250. And this is being reported on the Daily Mail's front page. Also, 250. Okay, so we just need to let it climb about a couple more hundred. Let it get that much worse, and then, presumably, we can have daily briefings. That is where this is headed, isn't it? They're going to let the NHS collapse into such a state of chaos and emergency. They're going to do daily briefings begging you to stay at home, protect the NHS, and save lives. Like, if you go down there, you're only contributing to the problem, guys. I mean, sure, you might die there on your sofa, but the fewer people there are in A&E, the fewer people will die in A&E.
Prince Andrew's a nonce burger.
Also in the Times, some party politics for you. Tory revolt over law to target the homeless. Now, this is an interesting one because so much is said at the moment about the general election, about the poor polling for the Tories, about the problems that they're getting with reform nipping at their heels, halving the right-leaning vote in some constituencies. And there's good reasons for talking about all of that. But it's important to remember just how split the Conservative Party itself is. Because here you have this new policing and crime bill strategised by towering intellect of political thought, Suella Braverman. Obviously, this is before she was ostensibly sacked for inciting a riot at the cenotaph. But anyway, one of the core components of it was to pretty much criminalise sleeping rough. Which is, again, so Tory, isn't it? You know, you look at the state of the United Kingdom as it is. Growing deprivation, soaring inequality, you know? And you look at all of that and you go like, well, wow, this is incredible how people just keep resorting to sleeping rough. We should do something, you know. Somebody's like, yeah, maybe we should look at ways to inspire wage growth. Maybe we should look at bolstering the welfare system, taking care of people, improving the safety net. And old Braverman's over here going like, no, you know what we should do? We should just make it illegal to sleep. That would solve it overnight. And the bill is just insane. It seeks to redefine what a person of nuisance is. It says they could be categorised as such for merely sleeping in a doorway or having an excessive smell or looking as though they might intend to sleep rough. And so, yeah, some of the more moderate Tories are like, no, this is ridiculous. Like, you're trying to punish homeless people for literally just being homeless. And so, anyway, yes, there's this fear that this bill will be raised, but the moderates will vote it down. Sunak will lose it. It will trash his authority. Will be like careering towards the general election then. Woohoo! But obviously that's not great news for CCHQ. Because in the total absence of achievement or improvement over the last 14 years, one of the core components of their strategy going into the GE is to say that they're tough on crime. Which, for those of you with a slightly poor recollection, allow me to remind you of some of the other times the Tories have focused on crime. Well, there's demonising activist lawyers themselves, as well as the Rwanda bill, which doesn't really jive with international law. There's Rishi Sunak, who's broken the law twice. There's the buffet of criminal activity associated with Partygate. There was breaking international law in a limited and specific way. Suella Braverman herself breaking speeding laws. She also broke her own asylum laws, and she did that. She did that twice. Like, somebody needs to tell them, like, your law and order thing, that ship has sailed. Like, any Conservative MP or whip or donor or CCHQ staff member who thinks that the Conservative Party have any integrity from which to preach about law and order, you need to go and get yourself checked, I think. Get yourself down to a hospital. Well, maybe not a hospital, you know. I hear they're quite busy. Guys, that's it for this one. If you haven't checked out the podcast yet, Friday night's live show is now out to everyone everywhere on Apple, Spotify, YouTube. It's off like the YouTube community members thing. But if you're in a position to, and you've enjoyed a lot of the paper reviews and the podcast and everything, maybe consider jumping onto patreon.com/AidThompson, or go into the link in the description below for the YouTube community. You could join that one also. Or if you don't want to add one more subscription to your outgoings each month, maybe consider dropping a little tip in the tip cup. You just click the 3 dots on YouTube. There's a little super thanks thing there, for which I would be super grateful. Peace.